My wife only married me to get back at her ex. I found out in the middle of the night, scrolling through her phone while she slept. I stumbled on a Reddit thread she'd answered. The question was, what's it like to be with someone you had to settle for when you couldn't have the one you truly loved? Her answer, life is like a pool of stagnant water. She went on, post after post, reminiscing about every little detail of her time with her first love. At the very end, she even attached a photo of them kissing. Their faces were blurred out. But reading every single word, I could feel the scorching heat of her love for him. Another user commented, "What if your husband finds out? Aren't you scared he'll divorce you?" Her reply was dripping with confidence. "Not a chance. He's crazy about me." Reading that, a cold smile spread across my face. I put down the phone, walked over to my desk, and printed out the divorce papers. I love her, but I refuse to be the one she settled for. Because I love myself more. One Chloe and I have been married for years. Life was quiet, but it felt solid. I tried my best to be a good husband, a provider, someone she could count on. She played the part of the gentle, supportive wife perfectly. I used to feel so lucky. She wasn't like my friends' wives, who were always picking fights or getting emotional over nothing. Chloe was always stable, unflappable. Even when I'd come home late from a work dinner, she'd never yell at me. I always thought I'd married a wonderful woman, and I always thought my love had finally won her over. I knew, of course, that she'd only agreed to date me and eventually marry me, to spite her ex-boyfriend, Leo Vance. But that anonymous Reddit post shattered years of self-deception. She'd answered a viral thread. What's it like to be with someone you had to settle for when you couldn't have the one you truly loved? Her answer, life is like a pool of stagnant water. She wrote that she couldn't stand to face me, which is why she gave me so much freedom. She didn't love me, so she didn't care how late I worked or if I was texting other women. She even wrote, I thought my indifference would eventually push him away, that he'd find someone else. It's a shame he never did. Then her tone shifted. She began to recall every single memory with her first love. Through her words, I finally understood the real Chloe. The Chloe who could be playful and needy, who loved grand romantic gestures and would throw tantrums just to be coddled. She poured all of her intense, fiery passion onto the page, every letter a tribute to another man. And me? I was just the guy she settled for. Reading it, something inside me snapped. I really thought, after all these years, I had finally broken through her walls. I thought she was the woman I was going to spend the rest of my life with. Turns out it was all in my head. She even wrote that she'd been on birth control our entire marriage, that she never wanted my child. Once, she'd had an accident. She got pregnant. She told me she had a miscarriage, but in her post, she admitted she'd had an abortion without ever telling me. We'd been married for years without kids. To shield her from pressure from her parents, I always told them it was my fault, that we were having issues on my end. I took all the heat for her, and it turns out she was just saving herself for another man. My world came crashing down. I put the phone down, my hands trembling, but my eyes caught one last comment at the bottom of the screen. Someone had asked her, "Aren't you afraid your husband will see this and divorce you?" Chloe's reply was chillingly self-assured. Not a chance. He's crazy about me. Too, whether it was a coincidence or not. The moment Leo Vance moved back to the city, our old college group chat lit up with plans for a reunion. I hadn't seen Leo in 3 years. He was even more handsome than I remembered. He wore a custom-tailored suit and a pair of thin, gold-rimmed glasses, looking every bit the sophisticated gentleman. But from the moment we walked in, Chloe didn't give him a single glance. She sat right beside me, attentively placing a piece of bruschetta on my plate. She's never done anything like that at home. Now here she was peeling the shrimp from the paella and putting in my bowl, smiling sweetly. "You should eat more." Across the table, Leo's hand froze midair. The smile on his face slowly vanished. I suddenly wanted to laugh. It was a play with 3 actors, but only 2 of them were performing. I was just a clown in the wings, watching the whole pathetic show unfold. After a few rounds of drinks, an old classmate who'd always had a crush on Leo, now drunk and emboldened, slurred, "Leo, I heard your family's business went under. You seeing anyone? If not, how about you give me a shot?" In my peripheral vision, I saw Chloe's body go rigid. Leo just smiled. "I'm single, but I don't think we're a good match." "What's not a good match?" she shot back, her pride stung by the rejection. Her words turned reckless. Don't tell me you're still hung up on Chloe. Planning on staying celibate for a married woman? She's married, Leo. And I'm rich now. Your family lost everything, right? How about I give you $5 million a year to be my boy toy? Leo's smile faltered. You've had too much to drink. Another guy, a notorious pot stirrer, whipped out his phone. Hey, you never know. Maybe it's mutual. I was scrolling through Reddit the other day and saw this post Chloe answered. It was about what it's like being in a loveless marriage. He turned his phone to Leo. Leo, this picture, this is you and Chloe, right? You still have this exact photo on your Instagram. At the first scent of drama, everyone pulled out their phones. Where is it? What subreddit? Even Leo, when he saw the post, looked at Chloe with a complicated expression, his eyes turning slightly red. Chloe looked right back at him. A deep chill ran through me, and I could barely control my shaking. In front of everyone, my private humiliation was laid bare. My wife was in love with another man. In that instant, I felt like I'd been stripped naked and paraded through the streets. All I wanted to do was run. After a long silence, Chloe finally spoke. Her voice was steady, but if you listened closely, you could hear the faint tremor. I was just messing around. My husband and I are fine. Let's just eat. The table nodded, and people put their phones away, but for the rest of the dinner, I could feel their eyes on us. The looks I got were a mixture of pity and ridicule. It was, without a doubt, the most difficult meal of my life. As the dinner wound down, Chloe stood up. I'm just going to the restroom, she said, and walked away. A few moments later, Leo got up and left too. More than a few people shot glances my way. I was numb. All I could do was pretend not to notice, mechanically shoveling food into my mouth. After the party broke up, everyone else left. I waited for a long time, but Chloe never came back. Finally, I got up to leave. As I passed down a dimly lit hallway, I heard Chloe's voice, thick with tears. I ducked into the shadows and watched. Leo was holding her from behind, comforting her. But you know you still have feelings for me, he pleaded. Chloe's voice was choked. You're imagining things. I'm married. Leo pressed on, desperate for an admission. Then why won't you turn around and look at me? What about that Reddit post, Chloe? You don't love him. He held her tighter, his voice dropping to a low whisper. I know this isn't right, but we were together first. If it wasn't for him, we might have gotten back together by now. Chloe, I came back for you. I was an idiot back then. Can we please start over? Chloe's body was ramrod straight. Her face was hidden in the shadows. After a long moment, she slowly turned in his arms and threw herself at him. They kissed, a desperate, frantic embrace in the empty corridor, as if trying to unleash years of suppressed emotion. And I just stood there, watching in silence, as a blade twisted in my heart. I don't know why, but they were the ones kissing, and I was the one who ran. When I finally stumbled out under the hazy glow of a streetlight, I reached up and touched my face. I didn't even realize it was wet with tears. Chloe came home very late that night. She looked like she wanted to explain something, but the words wouldn't come. I just smiled like I always did. Let's get some rest. We can talk tomorrow. Her brow, furrowed with tension, relaxed in relief. When I grabbed a pillow and a blanket to sleep in the guest room, she looked surprised for a second but didn't try to stop me. Late that night, I went back to the Reddit thread. There were dozens of new comments under Chloe's post, probably from our classmates who'd been at the dinner. Her last, arrogant reply was still there. Not a chance. He's crazy about me. The city lights bled through the thin curtains, which billowed in the night breeze. I sat up and pulled a folder from my desk drawer. Inside was a divorce agreement. Over the years, even though she didn't love me, Chloe had been a good wife in her own way. She handed over all her paychecks and bonuses, saying she didn't want to deal with money. Truthfully, she had started to change over the last year. She'd started kissing me goodbye in the morning. During intimate moments, she'd whisper my name, her voice full of emotion. Back then, I thought she was finally falling in love with me. But the moment Leo came back, I realized it was all just an illusion. I split our savings down the middle, signed my name on the divorce papers, and left them on a coffee table. Then I grabbed my suitcase, quietly closed the front door, and left. Before I logged off, I went back to her Reddit post and left a single comment under her reply. No, he won't. For Chloe's call didn't come until the next afternoon. She'd probably been too busy with Leo to notice I was gone and had only just found the divorce papers. What is this? She said, her voice tight with anger. Ethan, you want a divorce? I paused for a moment, then said softly, "Yeah, just sign the papers and let me know when you have time to go to the courthouse. And don't worry," I added, "I'm not taking more than my share. The apartment and the car are yours," but she cut me off, furious. "Are you serious right now? Is this all because of last night? Have you lost your mind?" Her tone was mocking. "You're just mad about that stupid post, aren't you? Fine, I was wrong to write it. But have I ever told you how much I hate being threatened? You think this is going to, I know." I interrupted her. "And I'm serious." "Chloe," I said, fighting back the lump in my throat. "I saw you in the hallway last night. I saw you too." The line went silent. Chloe was speechless. Then she scrambled to explain. "No, it's not what you think. Just listen to me." My voice cracked. "Chloe, what were you thinking when you wrote that? When you were trampling all over my feelings? Were you laughing at me? Did you think I was just some kind of joke? My love for you, was it really that worthless in your eyes?" For the first time I could remember, Chloe sounded flustered. She stammered, "That's not what I meant. I was drunk. I was just writing whatever." "Ethan, you're overthinking this." "Overthinking?" I let out a bitter laugh. She'd spelled it out so clearly. What was there left to overthink? I tilted my head back, trying to keep the tears from falling. "Chloe, let's get a divorce." On the phone that day, Chloe refused to agree to the divorce. She just told me to think it over. I didn't care. If she wouldn't sign, I'd file myself. Worst case, a 2-year separation would make it automatic. It just meant prolonging the agony. I could live with her not loving me, but I couldn't live with her trampling on my dignity and secretly ending the life of our child. It felt like when it rains, it pours. A few days later, I was heading home from work when a sudden downpour started. Visibility was terrible. The car in front of us slammed on its brakes, and the Uber I was in rear-ended it. The impact was violent. I heard a sickening crack, and a blinding pain shot through my leg. My vision went black, and my ears were ringing. At the hospital, the doctor looked at my x-rays. The bone in my lower leg had splintered and was pressing into the muscle. I needed surgery. Immediately. "We have to operate right away," the doctor said, filling out a form. "You also have a concussion from the impact, so you'll need to stay for observation afterward. You're going to need someone to look after you. Have a family member handle the payment at the admissions desk." I bit my lip. After a moment of hesitation, I sent Chloe a text. When she didn't reply, I dialed her number. It was humiliating. One day I'm telling her I'm leaving her. The next I'm calling her for help. But I had moved to this city for her. I didn't have any family here, no close friends. She was the only one I could call. The phone rang for a long time before she picked up. I could hear music and chatter in the background. I forced the words out, my head pounding. "Chloe, can you come to the hospital? I was in a car accident." Her voice was cold and mocking. "Ethan, can't you come up with a better excuse than that?" "I'm not." She cut me off. "You were acting so tough yesterday, going on and on about a divorce. What? You regret it already?" In the background, I heard Leo's voice. "Chloe, come on." Just before she hung up, Chloe let out a derisive scoff. "Honestly, Ethan, this is just pathetic." 5 then, the dial tone. I stared at my phone, feeling like my heart had stopped beating. The pain in my head and my leg seemed to fade away, replaced by a dull, delayed ache deep in my chest. Because my condition wasn't stable, the doctors scheduled my surgery for the next day. Before they wheeled me in, I opened my phone and saw a new post on Leo's Instagram. It was a picture from a revolving restaurant at the top of a skyscraper. He was making a wish over a birthday cake, and Chloe was beside him, looking at him with a gentle, adoring smile. The caption read, "May you be by my side for every year to come." A wave of pain seized my body, spreading through my limbs until I had to grab the bed rail to keep from doubling over. No wonder she wouldn't come. She was celebrating Leo's birthday. Of course. The birthday of the man she loved was far more important than her unloved husband. A doctor came over. "You still haven't signed the consent forms. Hasn't your family member arrived yet?" My eyes were dry. They burned with a familiar sting, but no tears would come. I guess I'd finally run out. I opened my mouth, my voice raspy. "I don't have any family." "Doctor, I'll sign it myself." A broken leg and a concussion meant I had to take a month off work. Once I could get around a little better, I started going to the grocery store, buying things I liked to cook just to pass the time. I had to keep myself busy, or the emptiness would swallow me whole. I was at our usual supermarket, picking out a steak, when a sharp voice cut through the air behind me. "Well, if it isn't Ethan." You shop here too? I turned. It was Leo, with his arm linked through Chloe's. He was smiling a smug, knowing look on his face. All by yourself? He asked. I didn't want to say a word to him. I turned to walk away, but a hand grabbed my wrist. Chloe was staring at the bandage on my leg, her brow furrowed. You're hurt. I laughed, a bitter, sarcastic sound. What, did you forget already? You're a little young to be going senile, aren't you? That day, Chloe looked stunned. I thought you were lying. Of course, I sneered. You were too busy celebrating someone else's birthday to bother. But it doesn't matter. We're getting a divorce. You're free to be with whoever you want. I don't have a say in it. Her frown deepened, a look of surprise on her face. I'd never spoken to her like that before. But she must have known she was in the wrong, because she explained, her voice patient. It wasn't like that. That day, I looked down at her hand gripping my arm and yanked it away. Get off me. I said, my voice cold. Chloe, just hearing your voice makes me sick. I couldn't stand to look at her face a second longer. I turned and walked away. Behind me, Chloe stared, speechless, the rest of her sentence dying on her lips. That evening, I got a text from Chloe. She hadn't messaged me in ages. Scrolling up, I saw that our entire chat history was a monologue for me. Hey, are you coming home for dinner? I made that bolognese sauce you love, saw a stray cat on the street today. Its eyes kind of look like yours, ha ha ha. Photo. The very last message was the one I sent from the hospital. I was in an accident. Can you come be with me? She never replied. It was just me, the fool, performing for an audience of one. But today, she had sent a message. Chloe explained. Leo said he didn't have anyone to celebrate his birthday with since he just moved back, so he asked me to go. There's nothing going on between us. Don't get the wrong idea. I don't know what prompted it, but it was the first time she had ever tried to placate me. I was wrong not to come to the hospital that day. It won't happen again. I suddenly found the whole thing hilarious. Being with Chloe, it seemed like everything was a mistake. The person was wrong. The timing was wrong. All of it. I had waited so long for an explanation that never came. Now that I didn't need it anymore, here she was, scrambling to give me one. How absurd. Maybe we were never meant to be. I was the one who forced it, and now I was finally tasting the bitter fruit I had sown. A few days later, my phone rang again. It was Chloe. It was the middle of the night. Her voice was hoarse, strained with the pain she was trying to suppress. Where did you put my stomach medication? Years ago, Chloe had worked herself to the bone, skipping meals and developing a severe stomach condition. For our entire marriage, I had carefully managed her diet. I cooked every single meal she ate, meticulously sourcing every ingredient. Besides her prescription meds, she was on a complex herbal regimen. One of the herbs was incredibly rare, and I had to fly across the country every 3 months to get a new supply from a specialist. I'd come home, portion it out, and brew it for her every single day. Now that I was gone, there was no one left to stand over a stove for hours, brewing her medicine. Her stomach must be acting up again. My voice was flat. You ran out. There was a pause, and then she spoke again, her voice tight with pain. Why didn't you go get more? Get extra this time. In all the years we were together, I had never missed a single day of her medicine, except when her doctor told her to take a break. I had flown through blizzards, waited outside the clinic at 4 in the morning in the dead of winter, just to make sure I got it in time. But now, what right did she have to demand anything from me? My voice was ice. Are you out of your mind? Go ask Leo to get it for you. Before she could finish, I hung up and blocked her number. I went through and blocked her on every app, every platform. I thought that would be the end of it. But the next day, as I was leaving work, Chloe was there, waiting for me. She was standing on the corner, dressed in a long, black trench coat, looking like a model from a high-fashion photo shoot. My coworkers walking past couldn't help but stare, whispering excitedly. I froze for a second, then frowned. When we were together, I used to dream of her picking me up from work. But she hated being seen with me in public and always refused. Now we were on the brink of divorce. What was she doing here? The moment she saw me, Chloe strode over and grabbed my arm. Why did you hang up on me last night? She demanded. I looked at her. She was genuinely confused, genuinely annoyed, as if this whole thing was just a drama I was putting on, and she was an innocent bystander. A wave of exhaustion washed over me, followed by a surge of pure disgust. I ripped my arm out of her grasp. We're getting a divorce. I don't see any reason for us to talk. She frowned. A divorce? Are you still mad about Leo? I already told you, there's nothing between us. Can you stop being so unreasonable? I looked at the woman I had loved for so many years, and an incredible rage filled my chest. Even now, she was calling him Leo. Even now, she was insisting there was nothing between them. And she had the nerve to call me unreasonable. Did she not know her words would hurt me? Did she not know she shouldn't say things like that? No, that wasn't it. Chloe was a shark in the business world. She knew exactly what to say and when to say it. She just didn't care. She saw me as some pathetic dog that would always be there, wagging its tail, no matter how many times she hurt me, abandoned me, or looked down on me. She simply didn't think I was worth the effort. The anger roared to life, burning away the last of my reason. I couldn't take it anymore. I swung my hand and slapped her across the face. Crack! I didn't hold back. The sound was sharp and vicious. Chloe's head snapped to the side. She froze, her eyes wide with shock, completely stunned. She never imagined I would ever lay a hand on her. Just then, Leo came striding up from behind her, his brow furrowed. Chloe, what are you doing here? He turned to me, and his expression shifted from confusion to contempt. Ethan, can you just stop harassing her already? She has always loved me. If you hadn't gotten in the middle of things, we would have been married by now. It's over. Can't you just let her go? Have some damn self-respect. 7 Leo's new office was nearby. He must have just gotten off work. What a sick twist of fate for the three of us to run into each other like this. His little speech drew the attention of everyone on the sidewalk. I could already see people taking out their phones, whispering, "Oh, so he's the other man. What a scumbag. Seriously, the real couple is so good-looking. This guy has no shame, still chasing after her." My fists clenched. I fought it, but the rage was too much. I threw a punch, catching Leo square in the jaw. It was a punch fueled by years of pent-up anger. He staggered back, dazed. When he recovered, his face contorted in fury, and he lunged at me, all pretense of sophistication gone. "You hit me. You actually hit me," he roared and raised his fist. In the past, I would have backed down. I would have swallowed my pride because I love Chloe, and I didn't want to upset her. I always believed that if I was just good enough to her, if I just stayed by her side for 5 years, 10 years, she would eventually see me. But now I understood. You can't make someone love you by trying to win them over. Love is selfish. She loved Leo, and he didn't have to do a single thing to occupy her thoughts for all these years. And I could humble myself into the dust for her. But if she didn't love me, she just didn't love me. I caught his fist in my hand, my voice low and steady. First of all, I didn't get in the middle of anything. You two were broken up for a full year before she and I got together. Second, we're not divorced yet. We are legally married. The one interfering in a marriage here is you. And finally, I have no idea where you get your nerve. You're the one trying to break up a marriage, and you have the audacity to lecture me. The husband? Is that what you call self-respect? If that's your definition, then no, I guess I don't have any. I studied law in college. The angrier I get, the clearer my thoughts become. The crowd around us was stunned. Wait, so that guy's the other man? And he's acting that arrogant. Wow, homewreckers have no shame these days. Someone put this online. He deserves to be blasted. Leo glanced at the people around us, his jaw tight. When he turned back to Chloe, his entire demeanor changed. His eyes filled with tears. He grabbed the corner of her coat, his voice trembling. "Chloe, it's only because I love you so much. Is it a crime to love you? You love me, right? Tell him. Tell him he's the one who broke us up." I sneered. "You can drop the act. I just hit her, too. If you've got the guts, have her hit me back for you." But Chloe was silent. As Leo stared at her in disbelief, she gently pulled his hand off her coat. "I think you've misunderstood. The person I love is my husband, and I have no intention of getting a divorce. I am sorry. I'm misunderstood." He took a step back, his eyes wide with incredulity. "Then what was all that before? You said you couldn't get over me. You were the one who kissed me. You were with me on my birthday when he was in the hospital. And now you're telling me I misunderstood? Chloe, are you playing games with me?" Chloe's voice was soft. "I admit, I had some unresolved feelings for you. But I've had time to think, and I realize now it was just nostalgia, just me being hung up on the past. Ethan and I have a good life together. I am sorry." Leo was a man who cared deeply about his pride. Her words were a public humiliation. His face turned beet red, and he spun around and stormed off. I had no desire to be the main attraction in this sidewalk circus any longer. I turned to leave. Chloe tried to stop me again, but I shook her off. My voice was devoid of emotion. Let's find a time to get the paperwork done. She looked at me, her eyes pleading, trying to appeal to the part of me that used to melt for her. I'm not divorcing you. I shrugged. Whatever you want. I'll just wait the 2 years and file then. I got in my car, hit the gas, and sped away, leaving her standing on the curb. Our relationship had become a joke. I'm sure Chloe was telling the truth when she said she was having a hard time adjusting to life without me. For years, I had taken care of everything. Every shirt ironed, every meal cooked exactly to her taste, every dose of medicine brewed and ready. She never had to worry about a single thing in our home. In return, she didn't have to remember our anniversary. She could even miss my birthday. She knew I would never get mad at her. Now that I was gone, who else would love her so completely? Of course she was panicking. Of course her first instinct was to cut ties with Leo and run back to her comfort zone. But I was done being the fool who just waits. Waits for her to fall for someone else and cast me aside without a second thought. Waits for her to get bored and come back to me, like I'm a dog she can summon and dismiss at her whim. Lying on that hospital bed, I cried and prayed, begging for her to just show up. Just for a second, so I wouldn't feel so utterly alone and terrified in that bloody, broken moment. But she didn't even give me the chance to lie to myself. And I didn't think much about what happened that day. But a few days later at work, a colleague hesitantly came up to me and showed me his phone. "Ethan, is this you?" I looked at the screen. It was the street outside our office building. It was me, Chloe, and Leo arguing. The video was at the part where I punched Leo and called him a homewrecker. The comments and reactions were exploding. Tens of thousands of them, a wall of text. This dude has no shame. He breaks up a marriage and then tries to confront the husband. He deserved to get decked. LOL. Okay, but the husband is kinda hot. Team husband. Let's wait for all the facts, people. Just because he said it doesn't make it true. Probably because Chloe and Leo were both ridiculously attractive. The video shot to the top of Twitter's trending topics. Leo and Chloe were getting absolutely roasted. Chloe got off relatively easy. She didn't really use social media. But her old Reddit post had been found, and the comments were full of people calling her a cheater. Leo, however, was getting destroyed. He loved posting about his life on Instagram, and now his account was a war zone. Thousands of comments called him a scumbag. In a moment of panic, he made a fatal mistake. If he had just stayed quiet, the internet would have forgotten in a week. But he tried to defend himself. He posted old photos of him and Chloe, old text message screenshots, trying to spin a narrative that they had been the original couple, and I was the one who broke them up. Unfortunately for him, our old classmates weren't buying it. One of them replied directly to his post. "Leo, are you still lying? You're the one who broke up with Chloe after you moved abroad. Ethan didn't get with her until a year later. We all know this. You are shameless on a whole other level." Another added, "So after you break up with her, she's supposed to stay single forever? Anyone she dates is interfering? Get over yourself." Someone even dug up the post Leo made when they broke up. His own caption read, "Love can't survive the distance. When I needed you, you were never there." That post sealed it. It proved their breakup had nothing to do with me. The online drama reached a fever pitch. Because he kept arguing with people in the comments, he was crowned the most shameless homewrecker, and his personal information was quickly doxed. Someone even found his graduate thesis and proved it was plagiarized. Under public pressure, his university officially revoked his degree. The high-paying firm he just joined fired him. Overnight, Leo Vance became a pariah. Chloe managed to disappear from the narrative. After the initial wave of criticism, she was largely forgotten. She found a time to call me from a new number. "Leo has paid the price. I've been dragged through the mud. You got everything you wanted. Ethan, come home." I was so disgusted I just hung up. But Chloe became relentless, constantly trying to contact me. After about 3 months, the calls and texts finally stopped. I thought she'd finally gotten the message. Then I got a call from her assistant. "Mr. Miller, Ms. Anderson is refusing the surgery. Can you please come and talk to her?" At first, I thought it was just another one of her manipulative games to get me back. But the assistant's voice was trembling. "Ms. Anderson has stomach cancer. It's stage 2. The doctors say if she doesn't have the surgery now, it will be too late. Please, you have to come." My blood ran cold. I hung up the phone and, after a long moment, drove to the hospital. When I got there, the assistant met me, her face pale. After you left, Ms. Anderson's life fell apart. She stopped eating, stopped taking her medicine. She was up all night, every night, just smoking and drinking on her balcony. Her stomach was already bad, and she'd be in so much pain she'd break out in a cold sweat. Then she started throwing up blood. She wiped her face. Today, they confirmed it's cancer. I don't know what happened, but she just sat there for the longest time and then refused the surgery. She told me I had to call you. I walked into the hospital room. Chloe was sitting by the window, staring outside. When she saw me, she turned her head and managed a weak smile. You came. I almost didn't recognize her. Chloe had always been fit, her body toned from hours at the gym. Now, the woman in front of me was skeletal. Her 5'9" frame looked like a fragile stick figure, her clothes hanging off her. I frowned. What do you want, Chloe? She pulled out a cigarette and lit it, ignoring the no smoking sign on the wall. She took a long drag. Her answer was completely off topic. Ethan, when I wrote that Reddit post, I meant it. I really didn't think I loved you, and I thought our marriage was pointless. I clenched my fists. Did you call me here just to humiliate me again? No, she continued. When I first saw Leo again, I was excited. When we were young, I really did love him. He was handsome, brilliant, my equal in every way. I honestly thought I wasn't over him. But the strange thing was, when I started spending time with him, I wasn't as happy as I thought I would be. I kept thinking about you, comparing him to you. When we'd go out to eat, he'd order something spicy, and I'd think you would never have ordered that. You know, I can't handle spicy food. When my stomach hurt, he would just panic. And I'd think, if you were here, you would have known exactly where the medicine was. No, if you were here, my stomach wouldn't have hurt in the first place. He's a great guy, he's interesting, but when I was with him, my mind would always wander. I was always thinking, I wonder what you're doing right now. Her fingers were trembling so badly the ash from her cigarette fell to the floor. Her voice was raspy. These months without you, I keep thinking about how things used to be. I'd come home, and you'd always be there to kiss me, your face blushing a little, with the dinner you'd made waiting on the table. I took it for granted back then. But looking back, I realized I used to look forward to coming home. Everything I ever wanted, I already had. I fell in love with you a long time ago. I was just too blind to see it. Her eyes turned red. Ethan, I know I hurt you. I'm only just now realizing how badly. Can you please give me a chance to make it up to you? My voice was cold. Chloe, do you love me? Or do you love the feeling of having someone who always puts you first? Do you want me back? Or do you just want someone to take care of you the way I used to? A bitter smile formed on my lips. In the end, the only person you have ever loved is yourself. When Leo could give you that thrill, that excitement, you threw me away without a second thought. Did you not know it would destroy me? Of course you did. You just didn't care. And when you realized he couldn't cater to your every need the way I did, you started thinking of me again. Let's be honest. You've just been irresponsibly chasing whatever makes you feel good in the moment. Love. You don't get to talk about love. Don't make me sick. With every word I spoke, the light in Chloe's eyes dimmed until it was gone. She was silent for a very long time. Do the surgery or don't. It's your life. But since we're still legally married, I guess I'll have to be the one to sign the papers. I turned and walked toward the door. Just as my hand touched the handle, Chloe spoke. Ethan, you're right. Everything you said is right. I am a selfish, manipulative person. You gave me everything, and all I ever gave you was pain. I don't deserve you. But there was one thing I didn't lie about. Her voice sounded like it was coming from a great distance. I really do love you. I looked up at the ceiling, my eyes burning, and pushed the door open without a word. I had waited so long to hear those words. So long that even now, the ghost of my old feelings made my eyes well up. But I wasn't going to turn back. I finally understood. If you don't love yourself, you'll never be worthy of anyone else's love. Now, the next time I heard about Chloe was 2 months later. By then, I had started a new life. I forced myself to delete, to throw away anything that reminded me of her. I had loved her for so long that the habit of her had become a part of my body. Ripping it out was excruciating. But I had to move forward. Just as I was starting to forget, her assistant called. Ms. Anderson's surgery was successful, but the doctors say it won't buy her much time. We're planning to go abroad for treatment. She asked me to tell you. She knows you don't want to talk to her. She's leaving the day after tomorrow. She'd like to finalize the divorce tomorrow morning. I was stunned. Chloe had fought the divorce for so long, I'd almost given up, resigning myself to waiting 2 years to file. I never thought she'd be the one to agree. When I saw her again, she was barely more than a skeleton in a wheelchair. A strong gust of wind looked like it could knock her over. Compared to the vibrant, powerful woman she used to be, she was unrecognizable. She didn't try to plead or argue. She just handed me the divorce agreement. Here, you're finally free of me. I scanned the document and realized she was leaving me almost everything. All the property, all the money. This, I frowned. I don't want all this. We agreed to split it 50-50. Just keep it. It's not like I can use it for much longer. She smiled, a look of peaceful acceptance on her face. I caused you a lot of trouble. Think of this as my small way of making amends. Maybe facing death really can change a person. The Chloe in front of me was a stranger, calm and subdued. We got the divorce certificates without any trouble. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt a wave of melancholy. It was here in this very building that I had married the girl I'd loved for years, full of hope for a happy life together. I never imagined that just a few years later, everything would be gone. Well, I should get going, Chloe said. She clutched the small document in her hand and waved at me. Maybe it was a trick of the light, but I thought I saw her eyes glistening. I'm leaving for the States tomorrow. I don't know if I'll ever see you again. You have to take care of yourself. I should have hated this woman. She had wounded me in the deepest way possible. But in that moment, all I felt was a dull ache in my chest, a bitter taste of resignation filling my mouth. Goodbye. Her assistant began to push her wheelchair away. She kept waving at me over her shoulder. Be happy, Ethan. I wiped the corner of my eye and forced myself to stay silent. Everything that needed to be said, and everything that shouldn't have been, had already been spoken over the years. There was nothing left. Maybe, for us, this was the best possible ending. To go our separate ways here and never look back. I turned and walked in the opposite direction. The two of us, with our backs to each other, growing smaller and smaller in the distance, until we disappeared from sight. The sun was bright today, so bright it hurt my eyes. As I walked, my vision blurred. But I wouldn't turn back. No matter how much it hurt, I had to keep moving forward. I said the words silently to myself. Goodbye to the first half of my life. Goodbye, Chloe. The end.